Before we get going, I would like to acknowledge two of our sponsors this evening. Horace Height of the Horace Height Estates, a residential community located in Sherman Oaks, the place you come home to. And Gaspar Insurance for all of your insurance needs, with offices right here in Woodland Hills Warner Center. If we can have a bit of applause for those two folks. They're making it possible for us to videotape and bring this to the rest of the community. So now you've met the 7 candidates. Now let's start with the questions. We're going to begin with questioning from Kobe King. Kobe, if you will take the first question, and we'll start with Ankur Patel.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for inviting me to be a panelist today, and thanks as well to the West Valley Warner Center Chamber of Commerce. It's a great event. Those who know me know that my public policy passion is transportation, so of course I'll start with a question on transportation. As I'm sure you all up there know, the legislature passed a bill to raise additional funds for transportation, known as SB1. It may be on the ballot as for referendum to be repealed. I'd like to know first, what is your view on whether SB1 should be repealed? And in any case, regardless of that, what are the most pressing projects in the West Valley that the state could provide assistance for in terms of transportation?
Yeah, I believe the gas tax should be repealed. I think the electrification of the Orange Line is an important major project that can be done. I actually studied transportation at California State University Northridge from a master's degree and looked directly into Los Angeles Department of Transportation. So Dash and Commuter Express, if you're familiar with, those are privately contracted out bus services from the city. So we're paying them 10, 15, 20, $30 million contracts, and the bus drivers aren't getting paid that much. The buses are still public capital. There's kickers in the contracts that say if gas prices increase, they get more from the city, and there's no incentive for ridership. That's just one part of the transportation equation. Looking forward with driverless vehicles, with car sharing, with the massive amounts of traffic that we have in not just the South Valley, but across the valley, we have to be thinking about what are we moving forward with. Single occupancy vehicles is not the solution. We know as our population ages, we want people to get out of their cars, and it's safer to get them out of the cars. And I think a lot of the resources spent on the bullet train would do a lot better if they were spent locally, investing in our local transportation solutions.
Thank you. Thank you. Ray Bishop, same question.
Yes, thank you. Transportation is one of our key problems. It's a quality of life issue, and especially in Los Angeles. As long as I can remember, even with Tom Bradley, when I worked as a commissioner with his office, transportation was one of the main priorities. And we've gone a long way to try to deal with that problem in the city, but we've made some bad decisions. I think the problem is, first of all, to look at where we really have the problem. If you look at Los Angeles, the transportation congestion is primarily on our freeways. We don't need to build in areas that are not going to remove that congestion from where the problem really lies. And I think that we need to have some advanced thinking about some futuristic things to first figure out how we can relieve our congestion on the freeways. It affects all of us in our businesses, in our lifestyles. And one of the things that I've proposed to the city and the county and the state in functions that I've worked in is first to, I think that maybe we should put a monorail over the freeway, put parking underneath it, and develop a safe system to
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Sean, forward. Also, I just want to remind people, I'd like to know your position on SB1 repeal. Yes or no answer. Ray?
On SB1?
Yeah.
Do you want to repeal it or not?
Well, you know, I think that's a matter of a priority. I'm in favor of the high-speed rail, but I also believe that we should focus our funds on where the problem is, and the problem is where we have congestion first.
Same question, Justin.
I would make it one of my first priorities to repeal SB1. I don't believe that we should have the legislature increasing taxes or investing in projects that it hasn't fully thought through. The gas tax, we have no guarantees that the money's actually going to spend on effective projects. We're spending billions of dollars for the bullet train, which is now over budget. And these are just examples of the legislature passing what it's calling solutions that aren't addressing any of the local needs. And I believe that part of the solution to transportation is relying on local communities and local municipalities to truly understand the needs of their communities, because they're going to be the people that understand the problem best.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next is Jeff Bornstein.
You know, I would not repeal SB1. However, I do not want that high-speed bullet train. You know what the high-speed bullet train should be? It should be an amusement park ride, because we already have something built and we have to utilize it. But we shouldn't be spending the money for a 3-hour and 45-minute trip up and down the state. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm a transportation guy, and I love the idea of the train initially. Okay? What we need to do is urban planning is the solution. You have to have low-income housing near transportation so the poor people can take the transportation, because the rich people will not. The people who have cars and can afford a car are going to take a car in this town. The poor people are the people who will make mass transit work in the next 40 years. We have to plan around that low-income housing. They didn't do it right.
Thank you, Jeff.
They didn't do it right over on Canoga.
Thank you.
Too expensive.
Next is Daniel Brin.
Hi. I agree with Jeff. I think I'm in support of SB1 because we need to invest in our infrastructure. I think that's something that both parties are uniting around. We need to, I don't understand why we passed Proposition M to fund a mass transit locally, and the West Valley is at the bottom of the priority list for just about everything important. Why don't we have our tunnel through the through the Sepulveda Pass? Why don't we have electrified Orange Line? Why do we have to wait 35 years, 25 to 35 years for these? So I'm against the bullet train. I believe we ought to channel these resources to local transit improvements so we can have a better, cleaner, and safer society that doesn't make us sick.
Thank you. Okay, next, Jesse Gabriel, same question, please.
Absolutely. So on terms of SB1, I think it's going to go to the voters, and I'm interested to see what the voters say. You know, I'm not in favor of it, but I think now that we've started the projects, I'm concerned about disrupting those projects to repeal it. At the same time, I think we've seen Washington and President Trump have proposed some transportation infrastructure work, and so I'm interested to see what comes out of that and how we might get some of that in the West Valley. Specifically here, I think that Measure M has funding for electrification of the Orange Line for Sepulveda Pass. We need to expedite that. Also need to think about how we harness the power of technology. Driverless cars are going to be here before we know it. And I think a lot of these are going to be things that Metro does that are done locally. And I think the most important job of our Assembly member is going to be to fight in Sacramento to make sure that the West Valley gets its fair share of funding.
Thank you. And last but not least, again, Tricia Robbins Casson, please, the same question.
Thank you. I am not in favor of repealing the gas tax, mostly because nothing comes for free. When you look at other states and how they do things, how they make sure that their roads are adequately paved, they make sure that their infrastructure is up to date. Those are paid for through tolls or through other systems that we do not have down here in our area. So I believe that those funds are very important for those things, because that's one of the things we hear most often is that our roads are in poor repair and that we need to go ahead and fix them. So this is one method of doing that. I do, however, also believe that some of the users of our roads, especially in terms of transporting things from the ports, et cetera, perhaps there is a space there to perhaps levy an additional tax on them, because when you consider the impact of an 18-wheeler carrying a full load on a road versus the impact of a private automobile, they're very different, and they shouldn't be paying the same tax. One should be paying more.
Okay, thank you.